a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Sactown Sports.
Let me tell you something. As you know, especially if you're a 49er fan, there are many, 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 many people in Northern California writing about the 49ers, covering the 49ers. But I could not be more sincere when I say this. Our next guest is one of them, and he joins us now. He's a senior writer covering the 49ers for The Athletic. Are we ready to go, Jay, with our special guest? Yeah. The one and only Matt Barrows. Ready to go?
I think he might be on the phone with him.
Yeah. All right. We'll get to Matt Barrows in just a moment. Do we have Matt Barrows ready to roll? Yeah. All right. Here, as I say, of all the writers covering the 49ers, he is one of them. He's Matt Barrows. How are you, Matty?
Oh, how are you guys?
Good.
What's up, Matt?
Great to catch up with you, especially I know you probably had a late night last night, right? After that barn burner of a preseason contest.
Yeah, I was at the edge of my seat the whole night, so it was tense. I could hardly sleep afterwards, but I'm pushing through today.
Good. We appreciate that. I did, honestly. I thought for a preseason game, it was fairly interesting as these things go, but I'm wondering, what do you think? And I know you heard him, you talked to him. What did Kyle Shanahan like and didn't like about the play of his quarterbacks last night?
I think he's liked it so far, and that's including the game against Tennessee last week. Brock Purdy didn't do much. He didn't have much out there to do anything with. It was Purdy and maybe three offensive linemen who will start week one against the Jets, and then everybody else was a backup. So no George Kittle, no Christian McCaffrey, no Brandon Ayuk, of course, no Deebo Samuel, and you could tell. I think that was the theme of those first three drives. Purdy didn't find a lot of open receivers and tried to make things happen with his feet and doing some ad-libbing, and it just didn't work, which raises the question, why was he in there in the first place? And, both Shanahan and Purdy said afterward that they wanted to get him in rhythm, get his kind of mental clock sharpened a little bit more than he can get in practices, things like that. But, my thought was that if these guys are going to play on Friday in the preseason finale against the Raiders, these guys being starters, I didn't see really the need to start Purdy against the Saints.
Yeah, no doubt. Matt Barrows joining us, really a head scratcher. Matt, who has the inside track on that backup QB position?
Astronaut.
Yeah, I would have said Brandon Allen a few days ago, but it was Josh Dobbs who got the start, got the chief backup snaps, and he makes things happen when he's in the game. I think that Allen started out training camp ahead of Dobbs because Allen was the incumbent, and he was sharper in practices, more efficient in practice. The first week, Dobbs didn't look very good, but Dobbs, as he's picked up the system, has looked better and better. And I just think that he offers a little bit more. There's a little bit more upside with him. A little bit bigger arm, and certainly the rushing ability. That's what stood out in the last two games, and he made the most of that last night. Another rushing touchdown and some really impressive scrambles. It's coming against backups and whatnot. But he did that last year, too. I think he finished fifth in the NFL among quarterbacks in rushing yards, and that's the guy who only started 12 games. So he's got that ability. He just has a little bit more than Allen. Not exactly sure what they're going to do at QB. It may be that they keep three on the roster, just like they did last year. I would think that Dobbs might have a little bit of a lead on Brandon Allen at this point.
That, of course, is Matt Barrows. During the year, you hear him on with Carmichael Dave. And, Matt, this may be a leading question, but you can be honest with us. When you're on with Drapes and I, as opposed to the mornings, is it easier because you don't have to, explain what the lines on the field are like you do when you talk to Carmichael Dave and what the rules are and all that stuff?
Yeah, I have to remind myself to speak at a third grade level with those guys. Monosyllabic words.
Sure.
C-spot run, that type of level with those guys.
And you do a real good job of it. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, did the 49ers find their punt returner last night?
They may have. I mean, Jacob Cowing has been a bit of a mystery because he didn't really practice much in the spring. And then he got a hamstring strain immediately in training camp. So he hadn't really practiced very much until last week, and he started doing well in those practices. Remember, those are the practices that were going to replace the joint sessions with the Saints in Southern California. And Cowing looked good and caught a lot of passes, and he carried that into the game. To me, the most impressive play was the end around, because I thought the Saints had that snuffed out, and he was able to outrun a defensive end, outrun a safety, get to the side of the field, and then cut up field for 19 yards. It just kind of shows you his physical gifts. So I think that's why they drafted him in the 4th round. They wanted him to be the punt returner. They want him to be Deebo Samuel's understudy at that position, a guy when Deebo Samuel comes off the field, they can give an end around to. They can do some gadget plays with, who sort of puts the defense on its heels. And it was a good start. I think the 49ers would love to see that again from him on Friday, or more, practice standouts from him in these last practices. But that's exactly what they were looking for from him, and he's starting to provide it.
Hey, Matt, Presley Harvin III, man, he's been a bright spot. I know, obviously, it's not his job. Is he going to land somewhere else? Like, he's been impressive all preseason so far. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine the 49ers are going to have to cut him because Mitch Wishnowski's their guy. He's not that injured. And if you're a team, and I don't know the punting situation, I don't know it like you guys know it, but I imagine there's one or two teams that
we're punting experts over here. Yeah.
If they're going over the tape, I mean, I don't know if it gets any better than what Harvin was able to do last night. I mean, 4 punts inside the 20 and 3 inside the 10.
Yeah. And
they all basically did the same thing. They just sort of landed around the 4 and then just died right there. This is exactly what you want from your punter. I didn't follow him very much in Pittsburgh, but I've been told that he had games like that with the Steelers. He just wasn't consistent over time. I imagine that's something that an older punter, as he's becoming a more experienced punter acquires. And so some team is going to pick him up, and I think is going to be very happy with him.
Speaking of special teams, and it always comes back to special teams with Matt Barrows because he is a special teams connoisseur, par none. But what do you think of the new kickoff rule? What's your best guess at how the 49ers handle the quote-unquote dynamic kickoff rule, Matt?
I thought that one of the Saints kickoffs was exactly what you want if you're the kickoff team last night. And it was the one that sort of skidded at like the 10 and then went towards the corner of the end zone. The 49ers had to scramble and pick it up, and they picked it up, and they may have gotten back to the 10. That's the ideal kickoff for a team. I don't know if it's that the 49ers just haven't wanted to show that card or what, but that's what they've been describing as, perfect for Jake Moody in that kickoff coverage. As far as returns, you would think that the 49ers would be better at this than most teams because it's been described as like an outside zone run, where you're moving laterally and you pick a lane and you cut back against the grain, and you hope that the defense has overrun the play. That's what they run. That's their bread and butter running play. So you would think that they would be better versed in it than a lot of teams. I haven't seen a really good return from them yet. And again, they're still kind of learning it, and they're not going to show everything that they've got. But that's an area that the 49ers have not been very good in, over the last, I don't know, 15 years.
Yeah, I know.
Their coverage and their returns have been terrible.
Yeah.
So you would think that this would be a opportunity for them to get good in an area where they've struggled in recent seasons.
Matt Barrows joining us. Hey, Matt, when you look at, the training camp and the preseason so far, To me, the overarching storyline has been obviously Brandon Ayuk and then Trent Williams too. What can you tell us about those two situations? It seems like the Ayuk thing is sort of at a holding pattern right now. I haven't heard much news the last 48 hours or so.
Yeah, it has been, and the 49ers would tell you it's been sort of stuck for a long time. It does seem like they've gotten close. Let's say that they've taken the ball to the 15-yard line, and the defense is kind of crowded at that end of the field. They just can't punch it in at this point. So that's where that is. They're really haggling over that fourth year. I guess this is a 4-year deal, and the details of the fourth year are difficult right now, and they can't seem to reach agreement on that. So I don't know what the answer is, when it's going to happen, but tomorrow will be 21 days until the start of the regular season. So we're starting to run out of runway here to get Brandon Ayuk up to speed. I already have doubts about whether he can have the same sort of start to the season that he had last year. He was really good in the spring last year. He took part in all the spring practices, took part in all the training camp practices, was a standout in both. This year, he hasn't practiced since they were at UNLV in Las Vegas ahead of the Super Bowl. So very hard to see him at least getting off to the same start that he had a year ago.
Matt, when are you going to grab Ayuk by the wrist and grab John Lynch by the scruff of the neck and drag him, into a room and say, look, you guys no one's leaving until you guys get this settled? When are you going to do that, Matt?
Well, if it comes out that this contract in the end is like very similar to Amon-Ra St. Brown's, which the Lions did back in May?
Yeah.
I forget when it was, but at that point, everybody was saying, you know what, that seems like a good contract for Brandon Ayuk. If they took all this time and wasted all this money and got to the same point, I think I would raise my voice.
There you go.
At some point.
Matt Barrows joining us. Matt, let's look at the landscape of the NFL, specifically the NFC. I'm an Eagles guy, so I'm not going to even ask you about, can the Eagles be a threat? But who is a threat? Which team is a threat to the Niners realistically in the NFC?
Yeah, I'd say the Eagles and the Lions are right at the top there. I mean, the Eagles have a really good offensive line, and they picked up a really good running back in the offseason. Saquon Barkley has been productive over the years on a bad Giants team that didn't really have a good quarterback and certainly didn't have a lot of wide receiver help. Now he's got all of those things in Philadelphia, plus that offensive line. I can only imagine that's going to be a very well-balanced offense, an offense that likes to run the ball both with Barkley and with Jalen Hurts. So that would, I agree with you. They would be atop my list. I'm not sure I quite believe in the Lions yet. I thought that the 49ers beat them in the NFC Championship game while they were still kind of coming out of their end-of-season slumber that they went into in the month of December. After they beat the Eagles, they seemed to coast a little bit from that point on. It really didn't wake up until the second half of that Lions game. So those would be two that I would circle. Everybody thinks that the Packers are up and coming with Jordan Love. I think the Bears are going to be fun to watch. Maybe not this year, but in coming years with a new quarterback. Those would be the teams in the NFC.
Matt Barrows, do you think that the defense will look significantly different in any way from what we saw last year now that they have a new coordinator?
I don't think it's so much the coordinator, but the personnel is going to be different. And I think overall it's going to be better. I know you're calling from Sacramento, where Eric Armstead is a favorite son. Mm-hmm. He's in Jacksonville now. I don't think that anybody that they brought in is as good as Armstead was, but they brought in a number of guys. Lee Collins, Jordan Elliott, Leonard Floyd, Yetur Gross-Matos, number 94. He's a guy I think you're going to learn to like if you're a 49ers fan. He's been pretty consistent in training camp so far. So a lot of bodies, a lot of bigger bodies too. I think there was a sense that the 49ers started to break down maybe a little bit in the middle of that defensive line last year. And Elliott and Malik Collins are really, really big guys. They remind me of DJ Jones, who was here for a while. And they've gotten several of those body types. And then the other part of it is cornerback. I mean, I started covering this team in 2002, and I can't remember a cornerback group that is as good as this one from top to bottom. I think the starters are as good as any two starters in the league, and Charvarius Ward and Diamador Lenore. They've got to figure out who that number 3 guy is, but they have more choices than they had last year when it was Isaiah Oliver, who didn't work out in the beginning, and Ambry Thomas, who didn't work out in the end of the season. So they really threw numbers at that problem, and I think it's going to be better this year.
Matt Barrows joining us. Hey, Matt, when you look at the rookies, which one do you think will have an impact his first year? You know, Mustafa's looking good. Pooney's looking good. Cowing, we talked about. We haven't even seen Ricky Pearsall yet. Which rookie are you looking to have an impact this season?
Yeah, I think Pooney is going to have the biggest impact. And I know people aren't following right guard very closely, but he could be a week 1 starter against the Jets. I mean, it's been a little bit by default because they've had a couple of injuries at that position. It allowed Pooney to get in there early on, and he's been really consistent since he did. He's strong. He doesn't make mistakes twice. He's been good around the goal line these last 2 games. So he's looking like a rare Kyle Shanahan rookie who might start in week 1. And then if he's not injured at all during the season, 17-game starter is almost unheard of for a Shanahan rookie. So he's one. Ronaldo Green got a lot of nice snaps last night. One of the consequences of the joint practices being canceled is that he would have gone against Chris Olave a lot over 2 days, and I think that would have been really, really good for him. And he got a handful of snaps against Olave last night, and did fairly well. So both of those guys, you mentioned Mustafa, he looked good. There was another offensive lineman, Jarrett Kingston, who got in at left guard because that's been an injury-prone position as well. He's looked pretty good as well. So overall, I think it's a pretty good class. The early returns seem promising. Some of these guys will sort of go away a little bit once the regular season starts, but they had a big draft class this year, 9 players. Most of them are earmarked to have bigger roles in 2025 and beyond. And I think the initial impressions for each of those guys has been pretty good.
Matt, we appreciate your time very much. And honestly, The Athletic with their 49er coverage, David Lombardi, Tim Kawakami, and our guest, Matt Barrows, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a few people, but it is sensational. If you're a Niner fan, you really need to look into that. And Matt, you're doing some of your best work the last few years, some of the best work you've done since you were with the Daily Packet. And I just really appreciate no, seriously, it's
that. And thanks for being a longtime Packet subscriber too. We appreciate that as well.
You got it. Thanks for making time for us. We appreciate it. We hope to talk to you again soon.
All right. Anytime, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right, Thank you, Matt Barrows. So a nice night for the 49ers, all things considered.
Yeah.
Preseason, but a nice night.
Right. I mean, my biggest takeaway so far from the Niners preseason, and Matt just touched on it, is the rookie class.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys have made some plays, and like Matt said, sure, they may take a step back, once the veterans come in. But, I think from where we thought the rookie class was going to be to where they are, and we haven't even seen Ricky Pearsall, it looks pretty solid, especially second, third, fourth round. And then we'll see, what Ricky Pearsall, the first rounder, does. But they got some talent there.
It's easy, as we all know, as we've said earlier, it's easy to get carried away with something any quarterback does in the preseason. But there are some things that do translate. For example, you got the 49ers are looking for, a punt returner. It was something of an issue last year in the Super Bowl, if you may remember. Yeah. And then you had Jacob Cowing returning a couple of punts last night. Yeah, it's preseason, but still, returning a punt is returning a punt. And Kyle Shanahan mentioned how poised he looked, which is the big thing. Didn't look skittish. He had 2 returns for 19 yards and a fair catch. And that's not nothing. I mean, is that going to mean they're going to win the Super Bowl? No, but that's a big, question mark that you want to have solved by this time of year. And it looks like maybe they've got the answer to that question after last night.
Yeah.
That's
I
good.
mean, it's a way to keep the guy on the field, on the team, be a part of it. And, historically, we talked about, their special teams units not being,
I know, it's almost like Shannon's is like, I can't be bothered with that.
That's
I have to draw up a play.
Right. Exactly. No, but he looked good last night. He looked good.
And as far as Josh Dobbs, X Factor gives you some, maybe a little more upside than you'd normally have in your backup position. But again, it's like, who knows? And he has been very, I think the word mercurial comes to mind. It's like, You're not sure what you're going to get with him, but he's capable of some really big things, and he's just fun to watch.
Highlight reel plays, you know. He's exciting to watch. Yeah, exactly. And Matt talked about it. He seems to have the inside track right now going into the final preseason game for that backup role. I think he's too valuable to cut, let go.
Oh, no question.
You know what I mean? I just think, he's already shown enough. We've seen some flashes from him last year, and so I think he's going to be a part of the team.
Yeah, and so the 49ers conclude the preseason Friday against the Raiders, and the Raiders, they've decided on their quarterback. Gardner Minshew is the man, which surprised a number of people who thought Aiden O'Connell had the inside track there.
Yeah, basically Aiden O'Connell lost the job.
Yeah,
he was the guy last year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they made room. Jimmy G, nope, we don't need you. Aiden O'Connell is that guy. He was the incumbent, if you will. And then they bring in Gardner Minshew, and he got his spot taken.
Yeah. So then that wraps up the preseason, and then you got a little bit of time off. And then what did we say? Is it 3 weeks from last Thursday? I think it is. The season starts.
Yeah. But the good thing is, too, Whitey, the way the NFL Thursday game, Friday game.
Yeah, no one's going to watch that one.
No, I'm going to be tuned in. I don't even know what time it is. It might be 6 a.m.
In Brazil.
I'll be up for that one.
Yeah.
And then you got Saturday college football, and then Sunday NFL, Monday
NFL, you got the 49ers.
Yeah, you got the big game. And so that's, 4 out of the 5 days you got NFL games right there.
Big opening weekend for the NFL. We just got to be a little more patient. This is like, Christmas is coming, and it's December 22nd, and you're like,
right.
When
You're
is
all from
Santa
school,
coming?
He's
going to bring me electric football this year. Where is he? I can't wait.
Oh, electric football. I may have to order that. Yeah. See if they made any advancements in that game.
Supposedly they did.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually work. Supposedly they did. When we come back, the Kings, some are saying the Kings are playoff sleepers. Tell you exactly who is saying the Kings are playoff sleepers when we return to Sactown Sports.
Coach Doug Christie here to remind you,